Hey, New Life. It's me, Billy Wilson. You used to know me, or at least a lot of you did. Well, I'm in Seattle this week with my brother Mike, and tomorrow we get to go spend some time with our spiritual mentor, Leonard Sweet. And so Mike said, while we're together in Seattle, why don't you make a video of a teaching that he heard me do a few weeks ago at another church, and I was telling some stories, and he said, this goes right along with the series that we're in right now. So I'm going to tell you some stories. I'm going to launch off of Luke chapter 4. So if you have a Bible, go ahead and turn there. I think you still use the YouVersion Bible app here. I'm going to read out of Luke 4. I'm going to read verses 14 to 21. And then we'll talk about the application that those verses have to our lives, to be freed from some things that are holding us back, to get free from some of the hell. So like when, I think your series is called When All Hell Breaks Loose, why don't we take today and break loose from some of the hell that maybe some of us find ourselves in. So turn to Luke 4, verses 14 to 21. Here's where we'll start. It goes like this. Then Jesus returned to Galilee. So returned from where? Where had he been? This is coming right off the heels of when Jesus had been baptized, and then he'd gone into the wilderness for 40 days where he had fasted and been tempted by the devil. So there's a scene in Luke 3, you can read about that. And this is him coming back from the wilderness, back home to Galilee. It continues like this, filled with the Holy Spirit's power. So oddly enough, he's filled with power. Now, when you have just fasted for 40 days, you're pretty weak. Maybe not feeling so powerful, but there's a kingdom power that's a little different from the world's power. So Jesus has returned home. He's still physically weak, but spiritually, he is full of power. Reports about him spread quickly through the whole region. So word's getting out about Jesus. He taught regularly in their synagogues and was praised by everyone. So his popularity is on the rise. He's doing miracles now, and people are starting to hear about this Jesus. And now he's come home, and people are like, don't we know this Jesus? Isn't this the Jesus who was like Joseph's son? We know him, don't we? So they invite him back to their synagogue, and they're giving him the podium. They're saying, why don't you share with us some things about what you know, Jesus? When he came to the village of Nazareth, his boyhood at home, he went as usual to the synagogue on the Sabbath and stood up to read the scriptures. The scroll of Isaiah the prophet was handed to him. He unrolled the scroll and found the place where this was written. So very strategically, very intentionally, he says to those gathered there, I'm going to tell you who I am. You think you know who I am? You don't know who I am. So Jesus reveals not just who he is, because he identifies who he is and makes some very important implications, but then he also says, here's what I've come to do. And here's where he reads from the scroll of Isaiah. He says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. There's no coincidence what he's reading here. The anointed word there, that means the word anointed means I am the Messiah. Messiah literally means the anointed one. It says, I am the Messiah who's come to bring good news to the poor. So he says he's come to bring this good news, and this good news means that where this news goes, things get better. And when things are not yet better, it means this news has not yet come in its full power. He says, I've come to bring good news to the poor, those who I identify as not yet free, not yet arrived, the poor, but yet chosen by God. This is how Israel, when they were at their best, identified themselves, that those who had been slaves but had been freed by God are now God's chosen, freed from their slavery. He continues on. He has sent me to proclaim that captives will be released, that the blind will see, that the oppressed will be set free, that those, this is paraphrase, parenthetical, those who are in hell will get out of hell, break loose from hell, and that the time of the Lord's favor has come. So Jesus says very specifically, those who are oppressed, those who are captive, those who are blind, those who have not yet experienced the Lord's favor, I'm here to announce that He is not mad at you. That those of you who think He's here to damn you, to judge you, out to get you, Jesus says, no. He's here. Jesus says, I have come to tell you, no, the Lord's not mad at you. In fact, He loves you. And He has an open invitation for you to come home. There's a very distinct ministry of New Life that I've been part of, and that I know that still goes out from New Life. It's this idea that we just want everyone within driving distance of this church, and now with internet going, your internet ministry just continue to expand. It's everyone who tunes in, everyone who hears the name of New Life will know this: their Heavenly Father loves them. And there's no greater ministry that New Life has than this, just to make sure everybody knows the Father loves you. So Jesus says, I've come to announce this: the Lord's favor is upon you. So at this, verse 20 says, He rolled up the scroll, handed it back to the attendant, and sat down. All the eyes in the synagogue looked at Him intently. Then He began to speak to them. The scripture you've just heard has been fulfilled this very day. In other words, Jesus says, the anointed one, the Messiah, the one you've been waiting on, the one that you have had all these hopes and prayers and dreams that He would come one day and rescue you, free you from your oppressors. I'm He, and I have come, to do all those things. So what's the response they get that day? As he rolls up the scroll, hands it back, and then He sits down, and there's this hush that goes over everybody there, and maybe they're wondering, what does that look like? Do we finally get free from the Romans? Because we're kind of tired of them. Maybe we can be the oppressors for once. So they begin to wonder, oh, what does that mean, Jesus? Does that mean we get to be in charge? Because you're a hometown boy, and if you've come to do this, then maybe we get a special place of power. So before they get too far down the road along that way of thinking, He says, no, I've come to make sure that everyone, in fact, even your enemies, even the ones you don't like, even the ones you've rejected, even them get freed from their oppression. So then there was this really awkward response, because they took Jesus outside and they actually tried to kill Him. They go from, yes, the King, the one we've wanted, is here and He's come to set us free, to let's kill Him. And just like that. So here's the odd thing. This odd reaction that Jesus elicits in people. Jesus is the kind of person that that you either want to make Him your king or you want to kill Him. Not too many people just became really ambivalent about Jesus. They wanted one or the other. So there are a couple of extremes that even today that Jesus brings out in people. Either they see Him as servant, and so they come to Jesus like, okay, well, here's my list of things I need you to do for me, Jesus. Well, He's not just that. He did come to serve. He came to seek and save those lost. He came to be servant and show us how to be servant. But He also came to be king. He came in power. So we see Him as either servant, and when He doesn't serve us well, we don't want anything to do with Him, or we see Him as king, all powerful, and we become scared of Him because maybe He knows what I've done that's wrong. Maybe He came to judge me, and we avoid Him because we're scared of Him. So which is it? Is He all-powerful king, come to judge us, or is He servant, come to serve us? Well, there's this unique exchange in the children's story, The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, that I think gives us kind of an idea of this ironic juxtaposition of Jesus as king and servant. He looks like, here's the exchange. So Susan is asking, I think the beaver in this particular, like, we're going to go see the lion? Like, I've never met a lion. I thought the king was a man. And the beaver goes, no. He's more than a man. He's a lion. And so Susan's like, really? I've never met a lion. She goes, is he safe? And the answer is, safe? Who said anything about safe? He's a lion. He's the king. He's all powerful. And here's the catch. But he's good. He's good. He can be trusted. So here's this ironic tension that we come to with Jesus. Like, he's all powerful. He's the king, and we come to him, and he can give us commands. So if he's our king, he can tell us what to do. And as our king, we say, yes, sir. Yes, king. But he's also good. So we know that when we bend the knee, we're able to say, I can trust you, though. I can trust you that what you command me to do is for my own good. See, a lot of people hear Jesus giving commands and like, all right, you're the what are you going to ask of me? My firstborn? You're going to ask me to give all my money? I've heard that kind of thing go on. But every time Jesus asserts his authority, we find out that it's for our own good. So he'll say something like this. This is my command. And we're like, okay, what are you going to command us? He says that you love one another. Like, oh, well, love one another. That would probably make the world a lot better, wouldn't it? If we just learned to love one another. See, Jesus says there's this thief out there. You got to watch out for him. You can see this in John 10:10. The thief has come to kill and steal and to destroy. But Jesus says, that's not me. I have come to give you life. He says, not just any sort of life, but life to the full. Let me talk about that life for a minute. What does life to the full look like? If you could picture your life lived to the full, this would be the opposite of life lived half-heartedly, or life lived oppressed, life lived being held back. So let's talk about the kind of things that hold us back for a minute. Sort of, if you get that in your mind, like, what are the things holding you back? What are the things oppressing you? Because you might feel like, I live in America. I live in Gillette, Wyoming. There's nothing holding me back. This is the land of the free, especially in Wyoming, land of the free. Maybe it's not an external force holding you back. Maybe there's an internal voice holding you back. You see, what I find with a lot of people, the thing that keeps them from life to the full is fear. Specifically, one of two fears. So let me talk about those two fears that tend to hold us back. So when Jesus said, I have come to free the oppressed, I want you to think about what might be oppressing you, what might be holding you back. The first fear that I think tends to hold us back is the fear of risk. Like, what will it cost me? There was a study I heard about recently. It really got to me, really caused me to reevaluate some things. The study was a survey done to very successful leaders toward the end of their lives, where they were really just in retrospect, looking back over the course of their careers, their lives, and the question was, if you had it to do over again, what would you do differently? And when I heard about the study, I just knew the answer was going to be, I wish I had spent, more time on vacation, or I wish I'd spent more time with my family, or I wish I'd just been a more loving, better person. All those would probably be good things. But here is the number one answer of high capacity people looking back over their lives. What do you wish you had done differently? Here's the answer. Number one answer came back, I wish I had taken more risks. What keeps us from taking risks? What are the kind of risks that we wish we could take that we're just being oppressed or held back from taking? Let's talk about the kind of risks that we avoid taking. There's a story I like to tell that kind of gives me a picture of those of us who may not feel risk averse, but we actually are, especially when it comes to certain things. We used to have a black lab named Buddy. It was my son Daniel's dog, and maybe some of you remember a black lab named Buddy coming around the church. And this black lab was smaller than average in size, but But I tell you what, when he ever saw another dog, he just wanted to attack and kill this other dog. I don't know what made this particular black lab fearless when it came to other dogs who were twice his size, but he was fearless. Now, you would think a dog like that wouldn't be afraid of anything, except for this one day we found out what Buddy was really, really afraid of. We were hiking in the Bighorns. We were on this hike to the Seven Brothers Lakes, and some of you know this hike, and we were taking this hike early in the spring. So the water, when you cross over this first creek, was really, really deep, and we had to cross this first creek to get to the rest of the hike, which we knew was just going to be spectacular. So we're going along. Buddy's just having the time of his life until he gets to this creek, and Buddy's like, I am not risking that. So Buddy, who's not afraid of anything, finally finds something that he says, nope, that's too big of a risk. So we say, okay, why don't the rest of you kids go across the creek? Maybe Buddy will follow. Nope. I said, Daniel, go across the creek and call for Buddy. And Buddy's like, I'm just fine right over here. Now, the thing is, we knew Buddy wanted to go to the other side because the other side is where the cool stuff was going to happen. But Buddy was so afraid of the creek, he was willing to stay on that side of the creek. So finally, we were all on the other side, calling for Buddy, and Buddy's now just pacing back and forth because he desperately wants to be where we are, but he's too afraid to get there. So I wonder if you can picture Buddy wanting to go someplace, wanting to take a risk, but not able to get there. Maybe you're in that place right now. I don't know what that would look like for you. But is there a risk that you've just been unwilling to take? Maybe trusting God fully with a life change, a career change. Maybe a relationship that you know has just not been good for you, but you're too afraid because it's just too comfortable to take a step and break that off. Or maybe take a step and start that relationship. Maybe it's trusting God with your finances. Who knows what it is, but you kind of sense God inviting you to take a step, to cross over to something that's on the other side. And you're just like, no, there's too much risk involved. I'm good here. I'll just stay here. You want to be there, but you're stuck here. You want to be across the creek, but you're oppressed on this side because there's a fear holding you back. You want to know what got Buddy on the other side? Buddy finally realized he didn't have what it took to get to the other side. So I waded back across the creek and said, Buddy, come here. And Buddy would usually come to me when I called. I said, Buddy, sit down. And he sat down. So I leaned over and I picked Buddy up. And I started across the creek. Now you're going to think, so you carried him across, like the footprints in the sand poem, right? Nope. Here's what I did. I got halfway across the creek and I dropped Buddy in. Now, Buddy could have swam back to the other side. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to be with Daniel. He wanted to be with his master. So he just kept going. And he realized, oh, I can swim. I'm not going to drown. And he gets to the other side and has the best day ever. So as we come back down the hike and we come to that same creek again, we're wondering, is Buddy going to cross this time? You know what? We started to cross and Buddy was right there with us because he realized even though at first that risk was too much for him, when he got thrown in the deep end, he was ready to swim. He was more ready than he realized that he could swim. So he crossed over the river and he lived. So think about this. Buddy was able to stay with the family he loved, to go places that he wanted to go and live the full life. So when Jesus says, I have come to give the full life, part of that full life means taking risks that scare you half to death. Because I guarantee you, when I was holding Buddy over that creek, that dog was shaken. He wanted to be there, but he was scared out of his mind until he realized he could do more than he realized he was capable of. I wonder if you are standing on one side of a decision and you just need to say, God, I'm too scared to make that decision. I'm too scared to take that step. Every time I start to do it, I'm just like, no. I want to stay with what I know. So pray this prayer and be careful And be ready for something to happen when you pray this prayer, to say, Father, throw me in the deep end. Throw me in over my head. Invite me, give me the grace to take a giant leap of faith. Because I know you'll be with me. I know you won't let me drown. So throw me in the deep end. Be prepared, because he just might do it. There's a second fear that I think a lot of us are facing that hold us back, that keep us from living that full life. And it's the fear of failing, or the fear of humbling ourselves. And especially men struggle with this one. We let pride get in the way of doing the thing that we want to do. And we let pride keep us from living that full life. So here's another story that kind of helped me enter into that full life and take steps to humble myself. Because here's the thing, when we're really figuring out this walk with Jesus, when we bow a knee to Jesus, it feels like we're giving up power. So Jesus says, if you want to gain, and this is just this upside down kingdom, he says, if you want to gain your life, you have to lose it. So what does that look like? Just picture the image of, I want to bend my knee and give myself to this king, but it's only when I give myself to this king and his lordship, that's where I truly find life. So it's in the humbling ourselves that he raises us up and helps us to live that full life. So here let me give you an image of what this life can look like. I've always had a fear, not always, but ever since I was a teenager, I had a severe fear of heights. And this mostly comes in when I'm trying to cross over like a high bridge. Several years ago, I was on a very tall bridge in Dallas. One of the scariest moments of my life. So here's how it goes. I was with my son, Caleb, and we were going from one part of the city to another, and we go under this interchange called the High Five interchange. Now popular mechanics would call this interchange one of the most elaborate interchanges in the world, and it's partly because the highest interchange is 12 stories high. There are like 25 different highways that are going this way and that way, and so you've got one particular highway that's going over all of them, changing from one highway to the next. Now Caleb and I, Caleb's our oldest son, we're going under all of these highways. We're at the very bottom one, and I'm looking up, and I'm looking up and up and up, and I'm like, Caleb, I don't ever want to be on that top one. I think I would freak out. I think I might pass out while I'm driving. And I have to laugh about it. And so I'm saying, no, I mean it. You're running the GPS. If we go back the same way we came, you better not take me on that bridge. Like, okay, so we go to where we're headed, and now we're coming back the direction we came from. And some reason, GPS took us back that way. Now I start going on that bridge, and I'm unfamiliar with the area. I don't know that I'm getting ready to get on that bridge. And I hear Caleb all of a sudden telling me what I had just realized in the same instant. We're on the bridge. And Caleb starts going, Dad, we're on the bridge. We're on the bridge. Dad, we're on the bridge. We're on it. We're on it, Dad. And I'm yelling, shut up. You're going to make me pass out. Just be quiet. So I think, now I don't know if you've ever felt that, but I start to get tunnel vision. And things on the side start to black out a little bit, because I am scared out of my mind. Why? Because I'm scared of falling off this bridge. I am scared of being high and then going low really, really fast. So what happened on this bridge? Obviously, I did not fall off the bridge, but I just kept going, and I go a little bit further, and I'm not looking over the side. I'm not looking around. I'm just like, I am scared of my mind. So I'm just going to go further and a little further, and I'm looking right in front of me. And before I know it, I'm on my way down the bridge, and I can breathe again. Now, I go on these tall bridges every once in a while, and Kim and I have a deal. We don't talk on top of the bridge. I focus on top of the bridge because I'm scared to death on top of these high places. I'm scared of falling. A few weeks ago, and I've avoided that bridge for the last several years. A few weeks ago, I decided it's time to take another trip over the bridge. I knew where the bridge was this time, and it still scared me to death. And my heart starts doing funny things, and I start feeling the blood rush to different rushes in my head, out of my head. I don't know. Things are going weird in my body. But I just know I have survived this bridge once before, and I'll survive it again. So I tell Kim, shh, she hates it when I shush her, but on the bridge, she's okay with it because I'm saving our lives. So I tell her, just be quiet. We're going on the bridge. I'm 10-2. I am more focused than I am at any other point in my life. And here's what I realized. It was a little easier the second time. So here's where I think the full life avoids us sometimes when we are afraid of humbling ourselves. It comes in one of two ways. One, apologizing. Two, giving forgiveness when somebody apologizes. Now, that sounds so simple. That specific thing is what holds us back from living the full life, because it holds us back from living the full relationship. Apologizing, how many men would you say that you know, like, I ain't scared of nothing. I'll go anywhere, do anything. And then the Holy Spirit kind of says, hey, you were wrong. You yelled at your kid and you need to apologize. And I ain't doing that. Nope, not doing that. Or you were kind of wrong with your wife the other day, and you feel like the Holy Spirit's saying, I think you need to humble yourself and apologize, admit you were wrong. Like, nope, I'm not doing that. And whatever that fear is from going down that road keeps us from the full life, because we won't apologize, and that apology keeps us from the full relationship. That lack of apology keeps us from the full life. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe someone's apologized to you, but you don't want to give up the power and forgive them. Because if I forgive, then I give away some of the power I have that I feel like that bitterness is giving me. So here's what I learned, and I still don't like bridges, but I go over them and I survive them. There's a 3-step process that I've learned that helps me get over the bridges. So here's what it looks like. It's very simple. You can write this down. Get a tattoo out if you need to. Do it. Do what? Well, the thing that you're afraid of, if you do it, it gives away some of your power. It might mean do it as in just apologize, just say the words, or just forgive. Do it. Survive it, because you will survive it. It may not feel like you could survive it. It may feel like this is the hardest thing in the world to say the words, I'm sorry, or to say the words, I forgive you. Do it, survive it. And once you've done those two things, guess what? You know you can do it again. And the next time you need to apologize, it's going to come a little faster and a little easier. And the faster you can get to, I'm sorry, and the faster you can get to, I forgive you, the faster you can get to that full life. And you don't waste all the days in between. I tell you, I think that would change your life, where you can let go of the fear of releasing that power. Because the truth is, you don't have the power. That fear has the power over you. And Jesus said he came to free the oppressed. So don't let that fear hold you back anymore. I tell you what, in closing, here's just a last bit of advice. Fear will tell you that you can't risk it. Fear will tell you, you can't just look at all you have to lose. Let me tell you this, fear is a liar. But Jesus came to give you the full life. Fear will tell you that you can't give up the power and apologize. Fear will tell you that you can't give up the power and forgive. But you need to know this. Fear is a liar. Jesus came to give you the full life. Don't let fear take any of it away, because fear is a liar.